In order to get ready with our next working step, I added some stitch markers to my hexagon. So black stitch markers for the corner picots, okay? And then based on our schematics, this would be, let's say, either the front, either the back. But the most important thing is that this side of the hexagon and this side, like the opposite one here, is going to be joined to the next motif, or rather the next motif will be joined to these two sides. These are our side seams, okay? So what did I do here? For each picot, I added a yellow stitch marker, and for each space in between these two picots, I added an orange marker. The markers will tell me in which point to join the next motif, okay? I do not need these markers for myself, but I put them here for you so you guys can follow if you've never joined motifs with picots, okay? If you've done this before, in all my videos that I have on YouTube, I actually work with motifs and picots, and in absolutely everyone I show how to join those. But since this is a new project and it's a different project, I have to show it again in case you are a new viewer on my channel. So obviously you need to have your second motif done up to the last row, because the joining of the motifs takes place in the last row of a new motif. So mine is ready up until the last row, and while I will be working the last row of this motif, I will be joining at the same time with that one to the according sides. So my work ends up in the middle of one hexagon side. I'm gonna start my new row here, and I'm gonna work it up until the first corner, following the pattern or continuing in the pattern the way it is said. So the last row starts with a slip stitch in the next chain 3 space, and then we work 2 trebles. First treble is replaced by a chain 4, okay? Second treble, now we work a picot out of chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in the third chain from hook, and 2 more trebles in this same space. All right, next thing, we have a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double crochet into the next chain 3 space. If you noticed, I never use the skip the next 3 stitches and blah blah blah, because I believe that this step is unnecessary when working a motif, or unless you have to skip it because there's no other way. In this case, I am working only in the space, and the next chain 3 space is this, so there's no point for me to say you have to skip the 3 treble stitches, okay? So double crochet into this next chain 3 space, picot on top of this double crochet. I am trying to write the pattern for this design, for this project, and in the pattern I am calling this picot a special picot because I am doing a slip stitch into these 2 front loops of the double crochet. So let's say special picot, which is a chain 3 and slip stitch into the front 2 loops of the double crochet, and then we have chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 double crochet cluster. So first unfinished double crochet goes into the next chain 5 space. Again, I do not see why I should say skip the picot, yeah, because we're not working into it at all. So we're gonna skip 2 chains of the next chain 5 space, and in the third chain I'm gonna make my first unfinished double crochet, and then in the next chain 3 space we're working our second unfinished double crochet. And now you're ready to have your cluster done. Yes, we finished these 2 as 1 double crochet, and that's called a cluster of 2 double crochets. Now we need a picot on top of this cluster, so it's a special picot, right? Chain 3, slip stitch into all of these 3 front loops, and then chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double crochet into next chain 8 space. But since it is separated by a picot, I'm gonna make the double crochet into this stitch. So you have to skip 2 chain stitches and into the third chain stitch of this space you work 1 double crochet. Okay, picot, special picot. So chain 3, slip stitch into the front 2 loops of this double crochet. Now we need to make our new corner space, which is chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Normally it will be followed by a corner picot and another chain 3, but now I have this corner picot I have to join to the corner picot of the previous motif. So this is what I'm doing. Our picot is out of chain 3, so I'm gonna chain 1. The next chain 1 of the picot becomes a slip stitch into the marked corner picot of a previous motif. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm gonna remove this for a second. I'm gonna slip stitch into this picot because it's a corner picot, just to find what to slip stitch here. So this slip stitch is actually our second chain stitch of our new picot, okay? And finish this picot with the third chain stitch. Now, in order to finish this picot properly, we have to slip stitch into the third chain from hook. So 1, 2, 3 into the third stitch from hook. Okay? Ta-da! We have joined 2 picots. Okay? Let's finish this space with chain 3. Now we're continuing in pattern, yes? And double crochet into the chain stitch into this stitch. So you're skipping a chain stitch following this picot, and then in the next chain stitch you're working your double crochet because you're mirroring what you have done here. Okay, so it can seem a little bit confusing, but if you have a chart in front of you, it's much easier. Okay, now I'm gonna put this marker back into this point where I joined because I might need it for the next motifs when I'm gonna join. I just want to, so I don't get confused where my joining corner picots are. All right, so continuing in pattern, I'm going to work my chain 3 space I already did, okay, for this next motif. And I need to make the new picot, which if this picot is marked, it means my new picot has to join this. So let's do that. We're gonna do the same thing. So chain 1, and then we join to the next picot with a slip stitch. Okay, chain 1, that is to consider that we have 3 chains for our new picot and slip stitch into the 2 front loops of the double crochet made. Okay, here I do not need to place my yellow marker back because I do not need this anymore. Okay, continuing in pattern, we need to have a chain 5 because we are mirroring this side, we're mirroring back to this treble, okay? So let's do the chain 5, but since we have an orange picot in the chain 5 space, we're gonna have to join the new chain 5 space to the one from the previous motif. So again, if we have a chain 5, we're gonna split it in half, which is 2, a joining stitch, and another 2 chains. So chain 2, the joining stitch will be a single crochet into the middle stitch of our previous space where it's marked, okay? So I'm gonna work a single crochet here. I'm gonna count 2 stitches, and then in the third one, obviously with the wrong side facing you, that's more comfortable to work with. So single crochet here and chain 2. That would complete your new chain 5 space, okay? Does it make sense? I think it does. And following the pattern or continuing in pattern, we need to work our 2 double crochet cluster, which is done absolutely the same way as we've done it before. So first unfinished double crochet goes into the middle stitch of our next chain 3 space right here, and next unfinished double crochet goes into the middle stitch of the next chain 5 space, okay? 1, 2, and then 3 here, the third one. Finish the cluster. You're looking at your previous motif. You have a marked picot here. It means we need to join the new picot to the previous one. So chain 1, and then I'm gonna remove this. If you understood the system, you can work this step on your own without my help, because it's pretty simple once you have it organized in your head. So slip stitch into that picot, chain 1, finish your new picot with a slip stitch into the front 3 loops, and keep going in pattern like that until you have joined this side till the end. I don't know if I should go with you. It's gonna be a lot to watch, but I guess for those who want it step by step. All right, so next one is another chain 5 space, which again, we're going to split it in half. So chain 2, single crochet into the next chain 5 space of the previous motif where it's marked with an orange stitch marker. 1, 2, into the third chain stitch. Okay, chain 2, 1, 2, and that would be your new chain 5 space complete. And then you have to work a double crochet into the next chain 3 space, okay? Into your motif, into your working motif, into the next chain 3 space, into the middle stitch. And then we have another picot, which obviously you have to join again to the previous picot, to the previous motif, okay? So chain 1, the next one is waiting for us here. Remove this marker, slip stitch into this picot. That would be my second chain stitch of my new picot. So chain 3rd one, come back into your work, slip stitch into the front 2 loops of this double crochet, and see how this looks when it's joined. It looks good. Okay, next one we have a chain 4 space. This one again, we're gonna split it in half, and we're gonna join just like we would join a chain 5 space. So chain 2, single crochet into this space. Since here is like 4 chain stitches, I cannot just choose one of the 4 stitches. I'm just gonna go into the space. I'm gonna make the single crochet into the space like this. Not a big deal if I don't go into a certain stitch here. So chain 2. It seems like you have a chain 5 here, but that it's not important right now. And then we need to work our 4 trebles separated by a picot into our working motif. So 2 trebles into the next chain 3 space of your working motif. I only get tired by saying the same words over and over again. I don't know how about you, but that's why I hate written patterns. A chart is much easier to follow once you know your symbols and your crochet stitches. Following a chart is like a piece of cake, trust me. I recommend and I suggest everyone to learn to read charts. It will make your crochet life so much easier. So chain 1, and then you need to join to the next awaiting picot with a slip stitch. Chain 1, complete your picot into the 3rd chain from hook. So you count 1, 2, and 3. And complete this section with another 2 treble stitches. And now you have to repeat everything from the beginning of this video for this side, like not everything because this side you're not joined here, but continuing in pattern, you're gonna have to join this side to this up until your corner picot, up until the corner picot here, okay? So continue in pattern, finishing joining this side, and I'll meet you here at this corner. I'm almost at the corner picot here, so the only space that did not have a stitch marker in the middle is this little chain 3 space right before the corner picot, because it's only chain 3 here and we do not need to join these 2 spaces together. So this is my chain 3 space from the new motif, and now I have to join the corner picot. The picot obviously will need another chain 3, so I'm making a chain 1 first, and then I'm joining to the corner picot with a slip stitch like this, making another chain 1 that would supposedly be my chain 3 for the new picot, and slip stitch into the 3rd stitch from hook. So 1, 2, and 3. Slip stitch into this, and there you have, oh, don't forget to insert the black stitch marker back into the point where you joined. I don't think we're gonna need it. It doesn't matter. It could be on the bottom side or on the top side. We don't know yet, but let's keep that stitch marker there for now. Now, the next 2 hexagon sides are not joining anything. So you just have to follow the pattern and work one side and then the next side up until the next picot, okay? So 2 sides, work 2 sides, and then I'll see you here at this picot. Just one little moment here until we move on. I'm still at the corner where I left. Here can be a little bit confusing. You might lose the track of what you're working on. Remember, this is the corner picot of the previous row of your working motif, and here was the corner picot of your new row of your working motif. So that was halfway through the corner, this chain 3 and picot. Now you have to work your next chain 3 space and following this picot here, you skip one stitch and double crochet into the next chain stitch. I just wanted to clarify this moment because even for myself it was a little bit confusing and I lost track of what I was working on. See, so it can be a little bit confusing, but you need to pay attention here really well. So now, since this is the corner of your new side, now you can go on and continue in pattern. So I am almost completed with my second side that was not supposed to join anything, right? From this point, so first side and then second side. Now this corner picot is going to join our next marked picot from the previous motif. So I only done the chain 3 space before that new picot that has to be done, and now look what happens. I need to arrange my motifs so that it will be easier for me to join these new stitches, okay? So this is your previous hexagon. With this side, this is your wrong side of the motif, and this side facing you, like it's in front of you, okay? Now take this whole joined piece and fold it in half. So the next hexagon motif comes here. Sorry, probably not the best position for my camera. I'm trying to find a position where it's not gonna move. Okay, oops. All right, let's try this. So this new motif will be right side facing you. Okay, so you folded it on top of the other one and you got here. So this side has to join this side in the same way like I showed you at the start of this video. Okay, so I am not sure if I should show it to you because it's gonna take a lot of time, but I'll just start you off on this side. So I'm ready to work my new corner picot here. So chain 1 and then slip stitch into the marked corner picot of your previous motif. Okay. So your previous motif always is with the wrong side facing you, and when you join to the picots or stitches, you go into it from the wrong side. It's easier to work like that. So that was your slip stitch and then chain 1, and now you have to slip stitch into your working motif, like here into the 3rd chain from hook to complete your new picot. Okay, I'm gonna do this again just to make my stitches a little more loose. So 1 and then slip stitch into this picot. That would be 2 and then 3, chain 3, yeah? Okay, and now slip stitch into the 3rd stitch from hook or into the 3rd chain from hook, like this. So corner picot is done. I'm gonna insert my black stitch marker back into this point. I might need it later. And then continuing in pattern, I'm going to finish joining this side. So let's finish this corner space with a chain 3 and a double crochet into this stitch. So you skip the first chain stitch after this picot and then into this second or the next chain stitch, you work your double crochet. And now the picot that is supposed to be on this double crochet, you join to the next picot that's waiting for you on your previous motif. Okay, absolutely in the same way as I've been showing you so far. It's not complicated, obviously, it's just a little bit of focus and patience. Now, since this is done, the next after the chain 3 space here, we need to have a chain 5 space. So again, chain 5 space is split in half. So chain 2 and then single crochet into the next space of our previous motif. And this time I'm going to go into the middle chain stitch of the previous space, because that space is also a chain 5. Continue with chain 2 and complete this section with a cluster. So first unfinished double crochet goes into your next chain 3 space of your working motif, and next unfinished double crochet goes into the middle stitch of the next chain 5 space. Finish the cluster, work your joining picot, so chain 1, slip stitch into the next awaiting picot, chain 1, slip stitch into your front 3 loops of your cluster, and so on and so forth till you get to the end of this side. Okay, so I got almost at the end of this side, and I have to join to this marked corner. Chain 1 and then slip stitch into our last picot to join, and chain 1 and finish your picot with a slip stitch into the 3rd stitch from hook. Let's put our black stitch marker back into the point where it was joined, right here, and then continue in pattern for this side. This side obviously doesn't join anything else, and then you have to finish the other side and you're right back where we started. So continue in pattern for this side and the rest of the first side when we started, and finish off this motif. Okay, so I'm at the end of this whole entire round, and obviously I have to end the motif into this 4th chain stitch of our first treble. But how do we end it? We end it with this same chain 4 space, because we have a chain 4 space here, so mirroring, we need to have a chain 4 space here too. So slip stitch into the 4th chain stitch of our first treble, and the hexagon, the 2nd hexagon is complete. So I'm gonna leave a longer tail to weave it in, just in case. This is a lacy pattern and it really needs to be weaved in really well. So pull the yarn through, give it a tug, and let's see what we have. So our corner points marked. You might want to add new black stitch markers for your corner picots for the new motif, yes. And where it was joined, this is how it looks. This is the line or the side seam of your garment right here, and this is your other stitch marker that you might need. Now, why do I say you might need or you might not need it? For, let's say, if you choose to attach your sleeves on this sides, then you're gonna need these 2 stitch markers, okay? These 3 actually. But if you, and you're not gonna need the bottom one, but it depends on which side you choose to attach your sleeves, either top or bottom. That's why you need to have the corner picots all marked. Okay, in order to continue with the sleeves, please have a new hexagon motif ready. Work a new hexagon motif up until the last row, exactly the way we did for this one. And if you want, you can have 2 hexagon motifs ready up until the last row. And the sleeve is going to be attached in the same way, in the same technique. It's just the sides, obviously, they will be different. And the way we're gonna fold the hexagon motif is gonna be a little bit different than just having them plain like that. I'll see you in the next part.